We enter the bright Atelier where ancient traditions meet modern precision, ready to witness the quiet birth of a masterpiece from raw earth. The master jeweler selects 18-karat yellow gold, weighing the grains carefully on the digital scale to ensure perfect density for the band. Fire dances against the crucible as the solid metal surrenders to heat, transforming into a molten river that flows into the mold. Once cooled, the rough gold casting sits on the wooden bench, dull and heavy, waiting for the craftsman's file to reveal its soul. The rhythmic sound of the file against metal fills the room as he smooths the rough edges, shaping the shank with steady hands. Gold dust gathers in the leather apron below, a glittering byproduct of the subtraction process that defines true luxury and meticulous design work. He checks the ring size against the steel mandrel, tapping it gently with a rawhide mallet to ensure a perfectly circular, comfortable fit. A soft abrasive wheel spins rapidly, touching the gold surface to remove microscopic scratches, bringing up the first hint of that warm luster. Now the focus shifts to the heart of the piece, a breathtaking Colombian emerald sourced directly from the legendary mines of Muzo Valley. Under the loupe, the green intensity is hypnotic, revealing the unique jardine inside the crystal that proves its natural origin and specific character. The jeweler uses a burr to carve the seat, cutting away tiny shavings of gold to create a cradle that fits the stone. This step requires absolute silence and focus, as the tolerance for error is measured in fractions of a millimeter within this delicate stage. He fabricates the delicate prongs from wires, soldering them to the gallery with a precise torch flame that must not melt the base. The components unite as the heat fuses the head to the shank, creating a solid structure that feels substantial, yet looks incredibly airy. The ring is dipped into an ultrasonic bath where sound waves vibrate dirt away, leaving the metal pristine and ready for final setting. He places the ring in a clamp, securing it tightly against the leather pads to prevent movement during the high-pressure stone setting process. The emerald is lowered gently into its golden bed, the fit so precise that it snaps faintly into place before the prongs move. Using a specialized pusher tool, he slowly bends the gold claws over the emerald's corners, applying pressure without cracking the fragile green gem. Each prong is tightened in a diagonal sequence to distribute tension evenly, ensuring the stone remains perfectly level and secure for a lifetime. He uses a cup burr to round off the sharp tips of the prongs, making them smooth to the touch and visually unobtrusive. The artisan applies red rouge compound to a soft cotton buffing wheel, preparing to bring the yellow gold to a high mirror finish. The wheel hums as it glides over the inner band, generating heat that requires thick finger guards to hold the precious metal steady. He maneuvers the outer shank against the buff with practiced agility, careful to avoid the emerald, which could be damaged by the friction. A high-pressure jet of steam blasts away the dark polishing residue, revealing the blinding brilliance of the gold and the emerald's deep fire. He raises the ring to the natural light of the window, checking the symmetry of the setting and the alignment of the facets. Under the microscope, he inspects the contact points where gold meets gem, ensuring there are no gaps that could catch on fine fabrics. He positions the ring under a laser engraver to etch the purity hallmark and the Atelier's signature logo inside the polished gold band. A microfiber cloth removes the last lingering fingerprints, leaving the surface immaculate as the deep green stone contrasts against the rich yellow metal. We shift focus to the leather station, where a craftsman selects a pristine hide of emerald green calfskin to create the ring's travel pouch. The sharp blade traces the pattern on the leather grain, cutting out the precise shapes needed to construct the protective luxury travel case. He runs the edges through a skiving machine, thinning the leather to paper thickness so it folds neatly without adding bulk to the seams. The Atelier's crest is embossed into the leather using a heated brass stamp and gold foil, leaving a crisp metallic mark of provenance. He guides the leather under the sewing machine foot, stitching the soft suede lining to the exterior shell with durable, color-matched bonded nylon. A thin layer of contact adhesive is brushed onto the seams, allowing him to fold the leather edges over the structural stiffening board. He shapes the central ring cushion by hand, ensuring it provides enough resistance to hold the heavy gold piece securely during international transit. He inspects the perimeter, stitching for absolute uniformity, burning the loose thread ends, and painting the raw edges for a sealed, smooth finish. The finished emerald ring is placed beside its new leather home, and the craftsman verifies that the green tones complement each other perfectly. He slides the ring into the pouch, then lowers it into the outer box, tucking the certificate of authenticity underneath the velvet pad. A wide satin ribbon is tied around the exterior packaging, secured with a perfect bow that sits squarely in the center of the lid. The package is placed in the outgoing tray, a completed cycle of craftsmanship waiting to be delivered to its new owner across the world. We move to the quiet corner of the studio where the creative director sketches the initial concept using graphite on textured heavyweight paper. She visualizes a new bespoke commission drawing inspiration from the geometric architecture of Bogota to frame a rare square-cut emerald of significance. Gouache paint is applied to the sketch, capturing the interplay of light and shadow that will eventually exist in the physical gold ring. Once the design is approved, the process shifts to the wax carver, who sits before a block of hard purple jeweler's carving wax. He uses a divider to scribe the precise dimensions onto the wax block, marking the center lines that define the ring's perfect symmetry. A coarse saw blade cuts through the excess wax, releasing the faint scent of petroleum as the rough silhouette of the ring emerges. He switches to a large file, removing bulk material rapidly while constantly rotating the wax to maintain a consistent thickness around the shank. The wax is unforgiving and brittle, requiring a delicate touch, as one slip of the hand could snap the fragile model in two. He uses a burr inside the ring hole, carefully widening the diameter until it slides perfectly onto the sizing mandrel at size 6. Now, the true artistry begins as he uses tiny dental tools to carve out the intricate gallery that will sit beneath the stone. He scoops out negative space, creating open windows in the wax that will eventually allow light to flood the emerald from every angle. The wax shavings peel away in thin, translucent curls, falling onto the bench pin as the heavy block transforms into a delicate lattice. He heats a fine needle over an alcohol lamp, using the molten tip to build up small droplets of wax for the prongs. The added wax fuses instantly with the carved base, creating a seamless bond that ensures the structural integrity of the final gold casting. He inspects the wall thickness with a caliper, ensuring it measures exactly 0.8 millimeters to balance durability with the desired refined aesthetic. A soft brush sweeps away the debris, revealing the sharp, crisp lines of the setting that look remarkably like the finished metal product. This wax model is a unique sculpture destined to be destroyed during the casting process to create a singular, one-of-a-kind gold object. He weighs the finished wax model using a specific gravity calculation to predict exactly how much 18-karat gold will be required for casting. The wax is attached to a rubber sprue base, the first step in creating the tree that will be encased in liquid plaster. A steel flask is placed over the wax tree, and the investment powder is mixed with water in a vacuum chamber to remove bubbles. The creamy plaster mixture is poured slowly down the side of the flask, rising gently to engulf the wax model without trapping any air. The flask undergoes another vacuum cycle, forcing trapped bubbles to the surface where they boil and pop, ensuring a perfectly smooth casting texture. After the white plaster hardens into a solid block, the flask is placed into the kiln, beginning the long, intense burnout cycle overnight. The temperature climbs steadily to 1300 degrees, incinerating the wax model completely and leaving behind a hollow negative space for the gold. The next morning, the jeweler prepares the casting grain, a specific alloy of gold, silver, and copper, designed for a rich yellow color. He places the graphite crucible in the induction heating coil, watching as the metal pellets turn red, then orange, then liquefy completely. With the flask hot and the metal molten, he activates the vacuum, pulling the liquid gold rapidly into the complex empty plaster cavity. The button of gold at the top of the flask turns from glowing orange to dull yellow as the metal structure slowly solidifies. He picks up the hot flask with tongs and submerges it in a bucket of water, causing a violent and steaming reaction immediately. The thermal shock shatters the plaster investment, and the rough gold tree is pulled from the bucket, revealing the ring for the first time. He uses a high-pressure water jet to blast away the remaining stubborn plaster stuck in the fine details of the gallery and settings. Large bolt cutters nip through the thick gold sprue that connects the ring to the main tree, separating the piece for further processing. The point of attachment leaves a rough nub, which he grinds down flush with the shank using a coarse, aggressive, abrasive belt sander. The ring goes into a magnetic tumbler where thousands of tiny steel pins batter the surface, burnishing the gold and hardening the metal. While the gold is processed, the gemologist opens a parcel paper, revealing a spread of rough emerald crystals fresh from the Colombian mine. She holds a hexagonal crystal up to the sunlight, looking for the axis of color that will yield the most vibrant, saturated green. The cutter sits at the lapidary wheel, grinding the rough crystal against a diamond disc to establish the basic shape and the table. He cements the stone to a dopstick and begins fasting, carefully cutting the pavilion angles to maximize internal reflection and returning brilliance. A finer grit wheel polishes each facet to a liquid shine, requiring exceptional control to avoid overheating the delicate, heat-sensitive emerald material. The finished gem is cleaned in alcohol and inspected, displaying the iconic bluish-green hue that makes Colombian emeralds the most desired in existence. The gold ring returns to the bench, now ready to receive the halo of small white diamonds that will frame the central emerald. He applies a layer of blue layout dye to the metal surface, scribing precise lines to mark the exact spacing for the pave. A high-speed micromotor spins a tiny twist drill, piercing the gold to create the pilot holes where the smaller gemstones will eventually sit. He switches to a heart burr, carving out the conical seats in the metal, checking depth constantly to ensure all tables sit level. The setter pours a parcel of Malay diamonds onto a tray, sorting them by fractions of a millimeter to ensure a perfect match. Through the stereo microscope, the gold looks like a vast landscape, and his sharp graver cuts into the metal like a plow through soil. He pushes the graver forward, curling up a tiny shaving of gold that stands upright, forming the bead that will hold the diamond. A wax-tipped tool picks up a diamond no larger than a grain of sand, placing it gently into the drilled hole with steady precision. The beading tool descends, rounding the rough gold shaving into a polished sphere, locking the small stone securely into the metal for eternity. He uses a flat graver to bright cut the metal around the stones, creating a mirrored wall that reflects light back into the diamonds. This tedious process repeats 40 times around the band, a rhythmic meditation that requires absolute stillness and breath control to avoid any catastrophic slips. He rolls a milligrain wheel along the edges of the setting, creating a vintage beaded border that adds a layer of antique sophistication. The ring is scrubbed with a soft toothbrush and mild soap to remove the layout dye and cutting oil, revealing the sparkling halo. Before the central emerald is set, the ring undergoes a rigorous polishing stage as the tool cannot touch the metal once the soft stone is in. He threads a cotton string charged with polishing compound through the intricate gallery, flossing the gold to shine the areas wheels cannot reach. The steam cleaner hisses again, blasting the pave work to ensure the diamonds are free of compound and blazing with pure white light. The emerald returns to the bench, and the setter checks the fit one last time, ensuring the seat is clean and free of burrs. He places tape over the diamond set areas to protect them from scratches, while he focuses his energy on the main event, the center stone. The heavy yellow gold prongs are stiff, requiring significant force to move, yet the stone they must hold is famous for its brittle nature. The room falls silent again as the setter picks up the heavy pliers, ready to commit the emerald to its permanent gold housing. He applies controlled pressure to the first prong, watching the gold yield slowly until it makes contact with the emerald's fragile green surface. A bead of sweat forms on his brow, for a mistake here means shattering a gem that took millions of years to form. He works in opposites, bending the north prong, then the south, balancing the vector forces so the stone does not tilt or shift. The prongs are trimmed back with a precision saw, ensuring they hold the gem securely without obscuring the view of the magnificent table. A rubber wheel smooths the prong tips, erasing the saw marks and leaving a rounded, snag-free finish that feels like silk to touch. The protective tape is peeled away, unveiling the contrast between the icy white diamond halo and the lush, verdant heart of the ring. The finished piece goes to the quality control station, where an inspector uses 10 power magnification to scrutinize every single millimeter of the workmanship. She taps the ring against her finger, listening for the faint rattle that would indicate a loose stone in the complex pave setting. Silence confirms the setting is solid, so she proceeds to check the symmetry of the gallery and the fluidity of the shank curves. The certification team prepares the dossier, verifying the lab report that details the emerald's weight, geographical origin, and lack of significant clarity enhancement. A specialized cloth is used to wipe the emerald, adding a drop of cedar oil to nourish the stone and maximize its luster. The ring is positioned on a black velvet turntable inside a light box, ready for high-resolution photography to document the piece for archives. The camera shutter clicks rapidly, capturing the way the light travels through the open gallery and ignites the green fire within the stone. Back at the packaging station, the leather pouch we saw earlier is brought forward, now stamped with the client's initials in gold leaf. The craftsman blows a puff of air into the pouch to open it, ensuring no dust particles are trapped inside the soft lining. He slips the ring onto a velvet finger, which slides snugly into the leather pouch, holding the jewelry suspended and safe from impact. The pouch is placed inside a heavy wooden presentation box, crafted from sustainable mahogany and lacquered to a deep, dark piano black finish. The hinge offers a satisfying resistance as he closes the lid, the sound a solid thud that speaks to the quality of construction. He wraps the box in textured green paper, folding the corners with military precision to create crisp, sharp angles that look incredibly professional. A wax seal is melted onto the ribbon stamped with the Atelier's crest, while the red wax is still hot, viscous, and soft. The production manager signs the warranty card with a fountain pen, the wet ink drying on the textured, heavy, cream-colored cardstock paper. She carefully embosses the official company seal onto the document, creating a raised tactile surface that guarantees the authenticity of the handcrafted piece. The certificate slides into a slim envelope made from the same emerald green calfskin as the ring pouch, creating a unified presentation experience. A small booklet regarding emerald care is included, instructing the owner to avoid ultrasonic cleaners and harsh chemicals to preserve the oil treatment. This documentation folder is placed gently on top of the wrapped presentation box, ensuring the client reads the provenance before seeing the jewel. We transition to the secure logistics area where the luxury package is prepared for an armored transport journey to the client in New York. The dispatch clerk lines a nondescript cardboard shipping box with shock-absorbing foam, ensuring the precious cargo remains anonymous and safe during the flight. He applies tamper-evident security tape across all seams, which will show a void message if anyone attempts to open the package in transit. The tracking label is affixed squarely to the top, connecting the physical parcel to a digital system that monitors its location every second. With the shipment dispatched, the energy in the atelier shifts back to the workbench where the essential cleanup process begins for the day. The jeweler uses a hare's foot brush to sweep the leather catch skin, gathering every particle of gold dust generated during the fabrication. This lamel is a valuable resource collected religiously to be refined and recycled back into clean casting grain for future luxury jewelry projects. He wipes down the steel tools with a light coat of oil, protecting the files and pliers from rust in the humid air. The ultrasonic machine is drained and wiped dry, its humming motor finally silenced after hours of cleaning, polishing compound from intricate gold settings. He organizes the burrs back into their wooden stand, checking for any dull cutting edges that might need replacement before the next job. The lights over the workbench are dimmed, casting long shadows across the wooden floor where generations of artisans have stood and worked tirelessly. There is a profound sense of satisfaction in the room, the quiet pride of knowing a raw stone was transformed into timeless art. But the cycle never truly ends as the creative director walks in with a tray of new gemstones ready for the next consultation. She lays out a set of sapphires, this time discussing the potential for a matching necklace to complement the ring that just left. The master jeweler nods his mind, already solving the engineering challenges of the new design, while his hands rest briefly on the bench. We follow the apprentice carrying the leather apron sweepings to the small chemical hood, beginning the crucial reclamation of the precious gold dust. Intense heat and acid work together in the beaker, dissolving the dirt and grime while separating the pure gold from the base contaminants. The resulting brown powder looks nothing like luxury, yet when melted in the crucible, it returns to a solid shining button of 24 karat. He adds exact proportions of copper and silver alloy to the pure metal, lowering the carat to 18 for the necessary hardness and color. The ingot passes through the heavy steel rolling mill, flattened incrementally into a smooth sheet that will serve as the foundation for tomorrow's work. At the sharpening bench, the master demonstrates how to maintain the gravers, for a dull tool requires force that leads to dangerous, costly mistakes. He glides the carbide tip across the diamond whetstone, maintaining a consistent 45-degree angle to create a cutting edge that splits a hair. A quick test on a fingernail confirms the sharpness. If the tool catches instantly without sliding, it is ready to carve the hardest metal. He polishes the heel of the graver on a ceramic lap, ensuring that the metal cut will be mirrored and bright without further polishing. Customizing tools is part of the craft as he grinds the jaws of a standard plier to reach into a tight, complex gallery setting. The focus shifts to the young apprentice at the far bench, currently struggling with the foundational skill of sawing a straight line through silver. The blade pings and snaps, a familiar sound of frustration that every master in this room remembers vividly from their own early days of training. The master steps in, correcting the tension of the saw frame and adjusting the elbow position to encourage a fluid, vertical stroke of motion. Practice plates made of copper litter the bench, covered in intricate drill holes and saw lines that map the slow, painful journey toward mastery. She learns to anneal the metal, heating it to a dull cherry red to relax the crystal structure before hammering it into a curve. Understanding the metallurgy is just as important as the manual dexterity, knowing exactly how the material behaves under stress, heat, and compressive force. A stone dealer arrives at the front entrance carrying a secured briefcase that contains the potential heart of the atelier's next major collection piece. They move to the north-facing window as artificial light flatters gems too much, and only the honest, diffuse daylight reveals the stone's true color. The dealer unfolds a parcel of cushion-cut emeralds, their vibrant green glowing against the white paper, each stone holding a different personality and history. The creative director eliminates stones with surface-reaching fractures, searching for that one crystal that balances transparency, saturation, and the life required for high jewelry. She selects a 3-carat stone with a minor 3-phase inclusion, the thumbprint of nature that guarantees it was born deep in the Andes Mountains. The loop confirms the velvety texture inherent to Colombian material, a soft glow that persists even when the primary light source is turned away. A handshake seals the deal, a transaction based on decades of mutual trust and a shared obsession for the finest treasures of the earth. The new emerald is cataloged immediately, weighed to the 3rd decimal, and placed in the safe, waiting for the design that will honor it. Meanwhile, the master jeweler opens the heavy steel drawer containing the rubber molds of past commissions, a physical archive of the Atelier's creative history. He searches for a specific component, a locking mechanism designed years ago, which will be adapted to solve a functional problem in a new bracelet. This continuity of knowledge separates a true maison from a factory where techniques are handed down orally and refined through decades of repetitive practice. The sun begins to set, casting long, golden, geometric shapes across the workshop floor, illuminating the floating dust motes and the scarred wooden benches. He removes his optivisor and rubs his eyes, the physical toll of the day fading against the satisfaction of solving the complex setting challenge. The apprentices clean their stations, ensuring that every file is hung correctly and every burr is accounted for before they are dismissed for the evening. The smell of beeswax oil and metallic dust hangs in the air, a distinctive perfume that signifies industry patience and the pursuit of perfection. The master picks up a finished platinum wedding band, giving it one final wipe with a chamois leather to ensure it leaves the shop spotless. Jewelry is intimate architecture. Objects designed to sit against the skin, collecting the warmth of the body and the scratches of a life well lived. He knows that long after he is gone, these pieces will remain carried forward as heirlooms that tell stories of love, celebration, and legacy. The security shutters roll down over the windows with a heavy metallic rattle, sealing the atelier and its precious contents safely for the night. But the work is never truly finished, as the mind of the craftsman continues to revolve around the unfinished problem on the bench pin. He packs his leather satchel, checking his sketchbook, where a new idea for an articulating necklace clasp has been scribbled in rough blue ink. The lights are extinguished one by one, leaving only the glowing red indicator of the kiln, which is slowly cooling down from the morning's burnout. In the darkness, the studio feels suspended in time, a quiet sanctuary where raw elements wait to be transmuted into objects of desire and beauty. This silence is necessary, a pause in the rhythm of production that allows the hands to rest and the creative spirit to recharge completely. The ring we made earlier arrives in New York, unboxed by hands that shake slightly with anticipation as the heavy lid is lifted. The emerald catches the ambient light of the room, beaming a green signal across the table that commands attention without saying a single word. It fits the finger perfectly, the result of that earlier tapping on the mandrel, a comfortable weight that instantly feels like part of her. This object is no longer just materials. It has become a vessel for memory marking and engagement that changes the course of a life. Back in the silent atelier, the dust of that creation remains settled on the floor, a physical record of the effort expended today. The gold dust will be swept, refined, and melted down, but the energy poured into the metal remains locked in the structure forever. Emeralds are born in chaos within the earth's crust, violent heat and pressure that we have tamed into a symbol of refined elegance. We respect the stone by not fighting its nature, protecting its inclusions while exposing its brilliance through the architecture of the gold setting. True luxury is not about the price tag, but the hundreds of hours of skilled labor invisible to the naked eye of the observer. It is the seamless solder joint, the perfectly level pave, and the polished gallery that proves a human hand cared deeply about the outcome. Machines can replicate shapes, but they cannot replicate the intuitive judgment of a master who adjusts his pressure based on the stone's feedback. This is why the Atelier exists, a bastion of slow manufacturing in a world that is constantly racing to make things faster and cheaper. We choose to work slowly because perfection cannot be rushed, and the integrity of the piece depends on patience at every single stage. Tomorrow the sun will rise, the shutters will open, and the fires will be lit again to begin the next challenge of creation. A new sketch sits on the desk, a new set of problems to solve, and a new opportunity to push the boundaries of craft. The tools are cold now, waiting for the warmth of the hand to wake them up and resume the ancient dance of fabrication. We are merely custodians of these materials, shaping them for a brief moment before they outlive us, passing through generations of future owners. The legacy of the jeweler is not written in books, but worn on the hands of those who appreciate the art of the possible. From the mines of Colombia to the bench in this studio, the journey of the emerald is complete, yet its life has just begun. We leave the room in darkness, honoring the silence that follows the symphony of hammers, files, and flames that brings true beauty into existence.